Hi, Vladimir or Volodymyr Zelenskyy. Now I'm addressing you and I'm very angry. If only you listened to a political analyst, Yuri Shvets, you wouldn't have to deal with me. Yuri Shvets is good at the understanding of the way of thinking of the Western politicians. And he compared the office of the president in the US and the office of the president in Ukraine. In the US, the office of the president is like the main secretary who works for the president. But in Ukraine, the president works for his secretary. And it is your first mistake. The second your mistake was when you didn't believe the Western intelligence when they told you about the possible invasion of Vladimir Putin. You see, at the very beginning I supported you and I was for you, but then I started doubting if you really were a decent person. When the war started, you grew in my eyes because you didn't escape and you made the decision to be with the Ukrainian people and fight for Ukraine. And that moment I listened to different interviews and I listened to the interview with Victoria. She's an actress of Diesel show. For those who doesn't know, Diesel show used to compete with the show of Volodymyr Zelenskyy. And they never supported him and they even mocked at him when he was a president. But when the war started, I listened to Victoria and I just noticed that Volodymyr Zelenskyy grew in her eyes and she started supporting him because he didn't escape. And I just thought that even if the competitors changed their minds and they started supporting Volodymyr Zelenskyy, that maybe yes, Volodymyr Zelenskyy is really a decent person. It was a good idea to appoint Valery Zaluzhny as the commander-in-chief of the armed forces of Ukraine because Valery Zaluzhny is a good boy on the individualization level. But you see, the problem is that you, Volodymyr, became a good boy just only when the war started, and Valery Zaluzhny already was a good boy before the war started, so he had more experience on the individualization level. So he had and has less inner fears than you, Volodymyr. So when he decided to attack Valery Gerasimov, the commander-in-chief of the armed forces of Russia, it was really a great idea. And here it was your third mistake, Volodymyr Zelenskyy, when you forbade Valery Zaluzhny to make such bold decisions in the future. The fourth mistake was when you decided to replace Valery Zaluzhny with Alexander Syrsky. You see, it was a pattern. Vladimir Putin, Valery Gerasimov, Vladimir Zelenskyy, Valery Zaluzhny. There were two Vladimirs and two Valerys. But you disrupted that pattern when you replaced Valery with Alexander. And finally, your fifth mistake, Volodymyr, was when you already had weapons. but you were afraid to take the initiative. You waited for the permission of the West. But you see, it's a very big responsibility for Western politicians to take responsibility for some actions. But all is fair in war. So it were you who needed to take responsibility, or actually no responsibility for some actions. For example, you could tell everyone that you were going to launch a missile towards the front in the east, and the fact that the missile just flew in the direction of the Federal Security Service or Kremlin, it was just by mistake. You were not responsible for those mistakes. It was just who knows why. And who could punish you, Volodymyr, for those actions? I think nobody. So you just had to be braver. And you see, I wrote the poems to give you some ideas how it is better to act. But you read my poems. You see, I wrote the poems, but you read my poems just for fun. Did I have to write detailed instruction for you how to act? So I'm very angry, Volodymyr. So now just sit and think over your behavior. Thank you. Bye-bye.